Welcome to the 2014 video training for Catholics at the Capitol. This video is a presentation of the New York State Catholic Conference, the official public policy voice of the Catholic bishops in the Empire State. We hope you find it helpful and that you enjoy your day. Our bishops remind us that in the Catholic tradition, responsible citizenship is a virtue, and participation in political life is a moral obligation. Our Holy Father, Pope Francis, puts it bluntly. A good Catholic meddles in politics, he says. Participating in this year's Catholics at the Capitol is one way to put your faith into action.
This is really important because we represent issues that have been advanced by the New York State Catholic Conference, and it really is an opportunity for all of us as citizens of this country, and specifically as Catholics in the state of New York. It really is the Catholic voice that stands for issues that particularly help protect the rights and security of the most vulnerable.
It's important that lawmakers see you in Albany, so wear your buttons proudly. If you can, take a walk to the State Capitol building, 3rd floor, and be a presence outside the Senate and Assembly chambers. Before we get to the issues of the day, let's cover some basic tips for successful advocacy. First, if you are planning to see your lawmaker today, make sure you have an appointment to visit, and then be on time for that appointment. If you don't have an appointment, it's okay to stop in your lawmaker's office and sign the guest book and introduce yourself as a constituent. Ask if you can make an appointment to see your lawmaker in the district office when you get back home. If you do meet with your lawmaker today, you may only get a few minutes to make your case, so speak clearly and concisely about the issue you are representing. Leave time for others in your group to speak on their issues. Be civil and courteous at all times. Try to make a personal connection with your lawmaker. Use your first-hand knowledge. If you are a Catholic school parent, or if you work for a charitable agency, share that experience. If you only get to meet with the legislator's staff, don't dismay. You are not wasting your time. Legislators trust their staff to filter information and provide sound advice about policy issues. It is essential to follow up your Albany meeting with a letter, and then another meeting back in the local district office. Consider your Albany visit the first step in beginning a relationship with the people who represent you in Albany. Now let's begin some brief training on the issues. As Christians, we are called to help meet the needs of vulnerable populations. This includes persons who are chemically addicted, mentally ill, and developmentally disabled, those who are hungry and homeless, and those whose lives have been ravaged by devastating natural disasters. Our first issue of concern is aiding these vulnerable populations. Catholic charities and many other not-for-profit service providers care for these populations on a daily basis. But the state, too, has a responsibility to help the poor and vulnerable, and our state constitution obliges the government to provide for the needy. It says, "The aid, care, and support of the needy are public concerns and shall be provided by the state." When you meet with your elected officials, make sure you stress the importance of this public-private partnership. Tell them that nonprofit service providers need adequate resources to carry out their mission and comply with administrative mandates, funding for decent salaries to attract and keep high-quality staff, agreed-upon cost of living adjustments for human service contracts. As the state moves away from institutional care to community-based services, it is important that funding be used to support vulnerable populations in the least restrictive setting. Ask lawmakers to make funding for supportive care, kinship care, and supplemental food programs a priority. Every human being, including those who are incarcerated in the criminal justice system, is made in the image and likeness of God. They are therefore deserving of humane treatment. This is our second issue of concern. Very old, feeble, and very sick inmates in the state's correctional system experience great suffering and are an extraordinary drain on state resources because of their special needs. When you meet with your elected officials, urge them to support the compassionate release of elderly and infirm prisoners. Tell them that confinement of inmates in SHUs, special housing units, particularly for those who are mentally ill, is often excessive and harmful. Prisons should not be used to warehouse people with mental illness. Instead, they need treatment. Farm workers, like any other laborers in New York State, are deserving of economic justice. Yet New York's laws continue to exclude them from many worker protections. 15 years ago, our legislature passed a law to ensure that farm workers get paid the same minimum wage as other workers. But much more needs to be done, and this brings us to our third issue of concern. The Farm Workers Fair Labor Practices Act would guarantee farm workers one 24-hour period of rest in each calendar week that coincides with the worker's religious holiday, overtime pay, collective bargaining rights, public health protections like decent sanitation and housing standards, and employer contributions to unemployment and workers' comp benefits. Urge your lawmakers to support the Farm Workers Fair Labor Practices Act. It will ensure economic fairness, safety, and dignity in the production of agricultural goods from which we all benefit. Our next issue for advocacy concerns an investment in the education of our children, our very future. Catholic, independent, and other religious schools are responsible for the education of 500,000 children, and they save the taxpayers in this state more than $9 billion a year. But the outlook is bleak for so many of our cherished Catholic schools unless something is done to help sustain them and see them grow. We must urge our elected officials to pass an education investment tax credit, which would enhance tax benefits for charitable donations to scholarship organizations and to public schools. Listen to our friends over at Invest in Ed as they describe just what this bill would do.
We're gathering here today to show support for the Education Investment Tax Credit Bill. This bill is a win-win for everybody. It provides a state tax credit for any person or business that makes a charitable donation to public schools or private scholarships. It expands financial resources for schools and educational opportunities for students, all with private donations and without raising local property taxes. It helps increase support for programs that tend to be the first to go when funds are cut, like athletics, music, tutoring, and art. And it helps scholarship organizations provide aid to more students from middle-class and low-income families.
When you meet with your lawmakers, tell them that Catholic school closings result in increased burdens on taxpayers and overcrowded public schools. An education tax credit would result in increased charitable giving for both public and religious schools. Urge your lawmakers to support the Cusick-Golden Earned Income Tax Credit legislation. Every human being is sacred, filled with inherent dignity, deserving of respect. That includes mothers and their children, whether born or unborn. And this brings us to our final issue of the day for Catholics at the Capitol: supporting pregnant women and opposing abortion expansion. Tragically, once again this year, the governor's budget decreases funding for the Maternity and Early Childhood Foundation, which supports critical services for young, low-income pregnant and parenting moms. The program helps promote proper prenatal care, optimal child health, and positive parenting skills. Last year, the program received just over $500,000. This year, it does not even have a line in the governor's budget. We must urge lawmakers to restore this critical program and increase its allocation, because the need is great. At the same time, Governor Cuomo has renewed his call for the legislature to pass his Women's Equality Act, which includes some beneficial items for women, like strengthening laws against human trafficking, assisting victims of domestic violence, and promoting pay equity, but which also includes a dangerous abortion expansion. The governor's bill would legalize late-term abortion for any reason and empower non-doctors to perform abortion. The Assembly has already passed the governor's 10-point Women's Equality Act. We must urge our Assembly members to pass only the 9 individual bills that truly benefit women. We must urge our senators to repass those 9 individual bills and to continue to reject the abortion expansion bill. As our friends at New Yorkers for Life ask, can't we love them both? Catholic teaching calls us to love all people.
We're always concerned about those who don't have a voice. The unborn, the undocumented, people in prison, people who are poor and homeless, suffering, struggling, on the fringes of society, those who are maybe near death, people who don't have a voice. We want to give them a voice.
We believe government exists to serve the common good, not the opposite way around. So what we're up here today is to give witness to what we hold dear and cherish, both as committed Catholics and as loyal American citizens, in saying, here's the common good. Here's what we see needs to be given attention in this community that we love.
We hope you will continue to advocate in your own community, visiting your legislators in their district offices, maybe starting a public policy group at your parish, and using our website, nyscatholic.org, to communicate with lawmakers easily and efficiently. Love is expressed more clearly in actions than in words. Thank you for putting love into action by your presence in Albany. Never forget that one person truly can make a difference. We hope you have a blessed St. Joseph's Day.